Hey, thank you so much for clicking on this video. You're about to watch a Monday Relive, a recorded live stream podcast of our actual Monday Live, hosted by me, Jason Vong, and my friend Danny, aka that1cameraguy. And actually, if you're free Monday nights 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we would love for you to be part of our live audience. Come join us in the chat, contribute to the conversation, and just chill out with your fellow camera and tech nerds. Until then, we hope you enjoy this video. The thing from last week, we gotta address this. I feel like we gotta address this because we did a live on Thursday last week reacting to the supposed live from Sony. We were hoping something would get announced. We were hoping they would do some sort of live presentation at the very least, but they made a fool out of me and Danny. We woke up at 6 a.m.
I thought I was here for the show, Jason. It wasn't. I knew it was not going to be a good show. I'm just kidding. We were just here for the party.
Regardless, we were prepared. We were just like, we're going to go live. We're going to do some sort of react to whatever it is they're announcing. We knew the A7S III or the A7 IV, this wasn't going to happen. They weren't going to announce it. But Danny and I were hopeful. Last Monday Live, we were just like, maybe they would like give us, they would throw us a bone. Let us know they have a development for it. But unfortunately, there was no live show from Sony. And I don't believe they announced they were going to do any sort of type of live show, but it was what Sony Alpha rumors were saying. It was what Cinema 5D was saying, that they were going to do a live show. So then we got up at like 6 a.m., set up the live show just for everything to drop at 7 o'clock, a bunch of clips. Not really a live show, but just almost a VOD, video on demand. But yeah, there was no Sony, like nothing in the Alpha Mirrorless world at least, but they did have some sort of updates to some other cameras, right, Danny?
Right, but the funny thing though is that, well, what's interesting about it is that the amount of people that joined in that live announcement really does show that there was a big interest in this particular A7S or A7 IV camera that everyone's kind of anticipating. So there's some interest there.
We had 1,400 people tuned in to the live show.
At the max point. It wasn't for the whole time, but
it wasn't for the whole time, but just imagine 14 times the current views right now, and me and Danny, or at least I am. I was sweating. Sweaty palms. But yeah, what sort of update did they announce, Danny?
Yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at it really quick here, folks. Just a quick update for you there. So Sony had just announced it's really minor things like firmware updates and such like that. So they're doing firmware updates for their full frame cameras, the Sony FX9. This is coming from Cinema 5D, and their VENICE to come later this year. The FX9 will get new 5K crop camera, 5K crop frame rates with 4K 50 and 60p internally. It's going to get eye autofocus, 4K 16-bit raw output with the extension unit, and the camera's display will start supporting touchscreen operation. I was telling Jason that sounded a little odd. They sold a camera that had the touch wasn't working, but now it looks like it will. And VENICE will get more monitoring options and high frame rate modes. There's some more stuff that dropped on that day, but we don't want to cover all that stuff there for you because it may not be to your own interest. So, not the exact thing we were looking for, Jason. Not the exact thing we're looking for.
And we knew that. I mean, like a lot of it, just kind of based on when the announcement was made. It was just more so during the time where a broadcasting convention was supposed to happen, but unfortunately it got canceled. NAB 2020 RIP. So a lot of these companies are forced to hold their virtual press conference. Of course, Canon dropped a pretty heavy one on April 20th with their R5 development update, but as well as other more so on their C300. Was it the C300 camera that they announced? A more cinema camera.
I believe the C300 Mark III, and then more details about the EOS R5. I think were their major talking points. So I mean, I was thinking analogous to that, they could have talked about their cinema cameras, their VENICE, their FX9, and then maybe toss along a prosumer camera or their A7S series camera along with that announcement to kind of match and tail with Sony, but it doesn't look like they did that in particular. So again, not what everyone expected. I know people were kind of hoping. There was a comment earlier that said that was a 20-minute support group meeting for Sony people. That's pretty funny. Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's not coming. I know a lot of people are just like, we're hoping for an announcement, but Sony Alpha Rumors has updated with a little bit of news. Again, take it with a grain of salt, but they're saying, hey, they might announce a compact camera. So again, doesn't really sound like an A7S III or an A7 IV, but some sort of new camera. And he's also saying that the next 3 months will be very busy. Now, again, these are just all rumors. I'm just going to go ahead and confidently say that something is coming out. As to when it's coming out, we don't know. So there will be something. But if you're looking for like something new that's coming within, I don't know, the next couple of months, it seems like a new compact camera. And he's updated and says Sony Alpha Rumors is saying it might not even be called an RX, but something new. So we'll see. We'll have to see what it is. So again, don't be expecting A7S III or A7 IV types of announcements to be happening maybe until like Q3, Q4 of 2020. Yeah.
Jason, I wanted to talk a little bit because they're mentioning the RX cameras. There, I never really got a chance to use it much. I don't think I ever did. Maybe just held it in the store. But it was the RX. There was an RX full frame. There was a compact full frame camera. Do you remember that? Did you already forget about it?
Yeah. The RX1R.
The RX1R, and there was an RX1R Mark II.
Yes.
Maybe that's their compact camera. Who knows?
Hey, that'd be cool. I would like an update to that. It's actually a very interesting camera. Nice little small form factor. 35mm f2 lens, full frame 42 megapixels. It was a solid camera, dude. It was a very nice little portable photography camera. I think the video features were kind of okay, but man, if they update it with like all these cool features to a full frame RX1R, that would be awesome. I mean, like, it's a 35 lens. I don't really shoot much with a 35, but could be an interesting camera for some folks out there.
I just completely forgot about it. I forgot that was a camera that Sony had.
Yeah, it's definitely not very mainstream, I would say, or at least in terms of the YouTube world. I know not a lot of people were talking about it, but I have come across people who own the camera and that are just in love with it and just think it's a really nice 35mm full frame camera. I can attest, it's actually pretty cool. Okay. So maybe they might announce an update to that. 61 megapixels, 35mm f2. Same deal with the updated video features, hopefully. I think that'd be a cool camera to carry around.
Hey, and since they have so much megapixels, maybe they can do some sort of crop zooming in, some sort of feature like that, get a little more out of it.
You know, I think Leica does something like that, right? The Leica Q2 or something. I was watching Kitty's review at Tola Visuals. She says it's such a high megapixel camera, you can shoot at like, I'm just throwing random numbers out. I'm not too entirely sure what it is, but like 18, 24, 50, I don't know. It's designed so that it kind of creates this feel that you're shooting with a longer focal length or a wider focal length. So that's pretty cool. So maybe if they can incorporate something like that with that high megapixel count, 35mm can be 50, 80. That'd be something I'd be interested in. And they drop 4K 60 on that. That'd be sick.
We're all waiting for that 4K 60. God dang it.
4K 60, man. I Googled Sony a7S III, and guess what I found on Google? One of our old Monday Lives from 2 years ago. We were talking about the Sony a7S III for the past couple of years. And we're still talking about the Sony a7S III. I just feel like once the a7S III comes out, I'm done. Goodbye, YouTube.
You know, I really hope that Sony has... This is just my own personal opinion about the whole situation, though. I really do hope that Sony can respond and bring something out by the summer timeframe when the supposed release of the EOS R5 is going to happen. And it's touted to come out, I believe, around the summertime. So whether or not the camera comes out or not from Sony, but it'd be nice to get some sort of concrete information on it. I know me and you've been talking sort of on the side, Jason, as far as me joking about wanting to go with Canon, you know, jumping over because of that 4K 120 and all that jazz. So that's why I usually just keep the sticker around here, just in case. But I don't want to have to switch over to Canon or anything like that, and I don't really plan to anytime soon at all. But I would really like those additional video features and higher frame rate options going into the future. So, but I just really hope they do mention something soon. It'd be nice if they could just, let the viewers, let the people know what's going on. So
I think they will respond with something for sure. Cool. Awesome. Shall we read some comments, Danny?
Yeah, go for it.
Let's see here. If you see it on the screen, let me know. Adrian Hung, quote unquote, live. FJH Photography, Francisco Joel Hernandez. Wish they announced the dang camera already.
It's there. I mean, the thing is, it's like we know it exists. It's just specifications haven't been finalized. We don't know, right? That's the thing.
MJ Adams, the Thursday live announcement felt more like a support group for disappointed Sony shooters. I don't think we were a support group. We were just like, we're gonna go live at 7, and then it's like 2 minutes in, there's no live. Oh shoot, what are we gonna do? All right, guys, at 7:10 a.m. we're just like, all right, guys, peace out. We're done here.
I like how you're just putting us on blast like that, Jason. Yeah, it's true. I was just trying to keep calm. I was just like, okay, we got 1,400 people, 1,200 people coming into the show, and then all of a sudden, no announcement, no live. Well, just basic announcements, and we're like, okay, keep it cool. We're just gonna ride this through.
I was nervous, dude. I was freaking out, dude. I was like ready to be like the Homer Simpson gif where I just like go back into the bushes because there was like nothing. Had they like went live at least, you and I could have played off on something, right? We could have just like watched a live stream together. We could have like commentated, annotated, whatever. But it was just like, oh, there's no live. There's just a bunch of videos that got released. Should we just watch that?
The thing is, there would have been content in there that would probably kind of would have went over our heads a little bit. You know what I mean? There would have been a lot of new video solutions for your production.
That's fine. It was a viewing party. I kind of viewed it as a viewing party. I knew they weren't going to announce anything, but at the very least, it was just like, okay, get your popcorns ready. Maybe we could see some cool stuff. I mean, like the Venice color science stuff looked pretty cool. Like I would have been down to watch that stuff with the folks that were on live with us. But yeah. That didn't happen. And we didn't want to play a 20-minute video where we're just like, okay, let's just watch it anyways, because people already know there was no announcements.
Right. We didn't want to mislead them. Photo Miike, Jason Vong, and Danny. It's interesting because Sony is also struggling on the PlayStation side against the Xbox. Are we talking about leaks? Are we talking about... I'm forgetting what other issues they're having with Xbox right now. I know Xbox has definitely got their system out already, the new Xbox out, but PS5's kind of struggling. The upcoming PS5 is struggling a little bit.
I'm over here rocking the Switch and just a plain old Xbox controller right here. Let's see here. Is that a new comment from Photo Miike? Sony has also yet to review. Okay, you already read that. I didn't talk. I mean.
He's just saying about the PS5 hasn't been revealed yet. Well, the Xbox, we already know the model and complete specifications, but similar to the A7S III series, we don't know anything about the A7S III completely, but we kind of know already about the EOS R5 at this point. So, just some interesting comparisons.
Let's see here. I'm the Brown. I spent many years studying people's body language. I think you know something, but you can't disclose it because of an NDA. You need a better poker face. I legitimately don't know anything. I wish I knew something, but I don't.
I mean, I asked Jason sometimes if he knows something, but he can't tell me. He didn't. He's just said he doesn't know anything that he can't tell me. So
it's just chilling in the back. Oh shoot, never mind.
Yeah, I never personally ask him if he knows something. I just usually ask if there's, if there could be something, but he's pretty. They got you, Jason. Jason, they got you. Jason, they got you.
They got me, dude. Cat's out of the bag. Canon R5 is right there, sitting right there. I've tested it out. It's the most amazing camera ever made, guaranteed. We're gonna sell thousands of those cameras. Let's see here. Okay, I think that's about it. Danny, do you see anything else?
Now let's go ahead and jump into the next story. You tackled the next one, Jason. What do you want to talk about next?
I don't know.
You want to talk about the MacBook Pro? Just dropped today. Just want to breeze through that.
Let's yeah, we could jump into the MacBook Pro, but should we talk about Canon since we already started the conversation with the camera stuff?
Oh yeah, let's do that. Go for it.
Canon EOS R6.
Yeah, sure. Let's just go for that one right now.
Canon EOS R6. We're not even EOS R5 is not even fully announced yet. We're talking about the EOS R6 here. So apparently the EOS R6 is supposed to be like what the 6D is to the 5D. It's like, I guess, a sort of more affordable full frame option to that higher end mirrorless DSLR camera. So I think a lot of people were kind of expecting when Canon was giving out their development updates about the R5 that the R6 would have some sort of, I guess, progression, but there wasn't any. So according to CanonRumors.com, because that's the most credible news site ever for Canon, I have been told that the official announcement for the R6 will not happen until July now. This is coming from two sources that contradicts our own report from 2 weeks ago, and that's the camera schedule for the announcement in May. Let's see here. The author wrote, they've been told not to expect the R6 to begin shipping until late Q3 in 2020, which is around August/September. That's actually a really close timeline if that's the case for a camera that has not been announced yet. Let's see here. Aside from that, what the rumors are saying is it's a 20 megapixel full frame CMOS sensor with in-body image stabilization, 12 frames per second mechanical, and 20 frames per second electronic. For those of you who are familiar with the A9, that's what the A9 can do. It's capable of 4K 60 frames per second, Full HD 120 frames per second. No 8K. Well, at least we're not anticipating any sort of 8K options in this camera, like what you would see in the R5. No top-down screen. What does that mean? No top-down screen.
Well, similar to the Sony camera, there's no top-down screen that you can get more information from. It's a similar
okay. Interesting. Yeah. Lower resolution EVF than the EOS R5. Build quality not as good as the R5 as expected. With a new battery. Not sure if it's the same as the EOS R5. Sounds like they could be making this camera smaller. Who knows?
You know what? I think it's probably just going to be another hybrid of their Canon battery, their LP6, like maybe just a more high-powered version of it or something like that. Canon's been pretty good about keeping that particular battery going. But the looks of it, Jason, for these particular specifications, if this is their camera, their EOS R6, that's going to go toe-to-toe with like the A7 III line of camera, this looks like a very competent camera if these specifications are sort of what's going to be in the ballpark for this particular camera. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but it has some very interesting features, especially with the 12 frames per second mechanical, 20 FPS electronic. They're basically matching the Sony A9 in that regard, so they're definitely stepping that up there. They're offering 4K 60, which the A7 III doesn't have. And other than that, based on what we're seeing right there, I mean, it looks like a really nice full frame camera on the side of Canon, as long as it all works out. Your thoughts, Jason?
Well, again, the only thoughts that I have is they haven't officially announced anything on the R6, so it's all speculations. Whether or not it can do 20 frames per second is to be seen, because that'd be insane. If they're launching a camera that's supposedly a second tier to the R5 to do what a flagship Sony A9 can do, that'd be pretty insane. I mean, that would definitely force Sony to implement that, assuming that it's going to price similarly to the A7 III, $2,000 price tag.
Right.
Then we could expect to see that in the A7 IV as a response. Again, this is just all talks. But hey, that'd be pretty interesting to be able to shoot at that kind of frame rate for photography on supposedly the more affordable option. That's pretty insane. That's pretty cool.
I really think this is that camera that I think Sony wants to bring to tackle that particular price point, about that $2,000 price point, against Sony, for example, or even whatever Nikon's offering in that particular target market. If they really want to get people back into their camera system, to get them to really accept the mirrorless full frame side of things on Canon side, I think they really need to be offering things exactly like this. Things that people have been sort of mentioning. They're just going all out with regards to the burst rate. That ends up being what the camera is. If everything else about it, their eye autofocus technology, their autofocusing, with all that stuff goes paired hand in hand with the system, that looks like a very, very compelling camera. And if it does sit at that $2,000 price range, I think it's going to pique the interest of a lot of people. Now, I don't know if it's going to be enough to make people go from Sony to Canon again, but it could definitely pique the interest of people to stay with Canon if that's the case, or look at Canon as an option for a mirrorless camera. So those are my 2 cents on that. I don't know about everybody else that's out there. What do you guys think? Let us know.
Let's pull up some comments right now. Evans. With the Blackmagic 6K camera now $500 cheaper, I am very tempted. I'm just too invested in Sony lenses that I hope they announce something fairly soon.
I agree.
Let's see.
I agree. At least tell us something.
This is a comment that's more from the previous topic, but since we're more in the Canon side, Alex, in response to Ike, says, "I don't think so. Sony has historically crushing Microsoft in sheer users and units sold. I think Sony is waiting for Microsoft to release their price point, and then Sony will react." I think in terms of global, Sony might have an advantage because Microsoft Xbox is more of a United States thing, or this side of the world. Let's see here.
Francisco saying Sony is still king of eye autofocus. I would probably agree to that at this moment. We will find out soon if it changes.
Shovik says, I think camera manufacturers should allow us to record via external SSD like the BMPCC, as they're now giving us raw video. CF Express is really cheap. Using an affordable SSD would give a peace of mind. I think, yeah, maybe. I don't think people would be buying these types of cameras to do any sort of big production work. I mean, I'm sure there are people who uses it, but at the same time, you know, a lot of these cameras have dedicated sort of usage. So in the regards of Blackmagic, I know people have been shooting into SSDs, which is insanely helpful in terms of like workflow and just memory storage. But in terms of these types of cameras, sure, give us an option, but I'd rather them keep it with the SD cards realm of things. I personally just like the SD cards a little bit more.
Maybe on their A7S series, maybe there'll be something like that. Who knows? I mean, anything could happen. Anything's at this stage of the game. So
anything can happen. Let's see here. Leroy DaCosta, he's asking about a different camera. Rumors of the GH6. I don't know, but if you hear anything, let us know. Maybe we'll talk about that in the next show.
Right.
Okay. Very awesome. Anything else, Danny? Anything else you see?
No, not at this time. Well, let's just jump back into our story topics really quick here. Since we're still on the talk of Canon, now we talked about this last week, right, Jason? I think we talked a little bit about this, about these live broadcasts that we're doing, people needing some type of webcam. Maybe they're trying to improve that. And I think this was brought up in our last live, I believe, in terms of last Monday live. But it seems as though Canon has released a video and well, they released a video, but they also released a beta software that allows their users to actually use a Canon DSLR or a Canon mirrorless camera as a webcam direct through USB, Jason. Direct through USB. So we're not going to go through the video or anything like that, but the point is, if you do still have like a Canon camera, Canon DSLR camera, you just use USB and you can connect it to your computer. Granted, it only works on Windows-based computers at this time. People are clamoring for a Mac option. but you just use the utility beta software, and you just set the source as the EOS utility webcam software, and you can easily just go ahead and use your camera just like that as a webcam through USB. So I think that's great, and it's a very, very strange thing, only because of Canon's track record of not always, not always giving freebies like that. Jason, your thoughts?
I mean, that's awesome. I'm just apologizing to the Sony gods right now for giving Canon so much spotlight, for this live show. I mean, like we're complimenting the R5, the R6, and now we're talking about them opening up the ability to live stream and use your Canon camera as a webcam without a capture card. That is flippin' insane. I mean,
right.
It is so hard to pick up.
And that was the thing. Exactly what you're saying. It's really hard to pick up a capture card right now. So if you wanted to improve your quality, whatever you needed to do, Canon went ahead and opened that up. I was hearing people saying like their old XTI Canon DSLR, this was working for them. So like I said, it doesn't work on Max right now, but in terms of just the situation, it's a really nice gesture that Canon threw out there. I would say they could have done this a long time ago, but it's nice of them. I don't know if Nikon has anything equivalent to this or not.
I mean, this is insane. I mean, like, I remember when we were setting up the Monday live streams, and I'm just like, it's a funny thing how it's 2017 and these cameras can't be used as a webcam. What's up with that? And then we had to like go buy like a Blackmagic. What is it? The thing you gave me, the Blackmagic. I still have it, by the way. It's complete garbage now because it doesn't work on the Mac and the Sony cameras. And the best other option was the Camlink, which for $100, I mean, it's fantastic, But unfortunately now, for you to get one, it could be either really expensive in the gray market sort of area, or you just end up shelling out more money for like an expensive option. And now, you can get a Canon camera to use that right out of the gate. Granted, you got to be a Windows user, rest in peace, Mac users like myself. That's a great option. I mean, like at this time right now, everyone is just sort of using this to do over their Zoom meetings, or, teaching over the internet, or, what have you. So that's really awesome with Canon. I'm really happy to hear. This just posed the question next. It's just like, can all these cameras do it? I mean, like, it just feels like all these cameras should be able to function like a webcam from the get-go, instead of us having to purchase a separate device. Not that the Camlink was too incredibly expensive, but at the end of the day, it would have been nice to be able to just kind of get it right out of the gate with your expensive camera setup.
Let's see. Let's pull this up really quick so you can kind of see this list here. I don't know if it's super easy to see or not, but that's their list that they have right now. So they got some somewhat older cameras, and it looks like it is working on some other ones out there as well that people have not necessarily posted. But it's a nice gesture of them. Even their PowerShot camera. So if you wanted to use a PowerShot or something on there, it could work. So.
Let's see here. Before we get into the comments, Danny did bring it up to me that there is a way, sort of like a hacky hack, if you want to do it on your Sony camera. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that, Danny?
Yeah, so the way, and this is not from me personally, just another YouTuber, someone else had a video on this, where you can use your Sony mirrorless camera, probably from like the a6000 and on up via USB. You want to have the Edge utility software installed on your, and I think someone mentioned this in the last live stream as well too. And you're connected to your computer via USB and use Edge software. You're going to have to use OBS to copy the capture source from that window, from the browser, that window from the Edge software. And then obviously you got to do some trickery, use OBS camera, what have you, and then push that out as your OBS source. So there is a way to capture the stuff from the Sony camera, Edge software plus OBS. It's possible. So without capture card.
Yeah, it's definitely a very sort of MacGyvering way to do it. Not really, but you're essentially getting the feed onto a software and then just recording that screen, that little box itself. I mean, it works though. Like Danny is saying, go ahead.
Right. To get you out of a pinch, I think it's a great option if you really don't have. Again, the issue, Jason, is just like there's no capture card. Right. If you wanted a seamless option right now, it's really hard to get one of those devices. I think the purpose of the capture card is that it takes the processing away from your computer, so it doesn't have to do all the heavy lifting. So that capture card is doing something in regards to the translation of the image and the data, but the workarounds are, I think, suitable for right now for people. So there you go.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and take in some comments regarding some of the lives. Go ahead, Danny. I can't see my screen right now.
I can barely see that too, but Photominic saying, I think that as the virtual meeting space grows bigger during this new world order, we will see more innovation in the webcam/streaming space. Yeah, I totally agree on that. It's happening. I think another thing too is that Google was rolling out Google Meets to all email accounts. So I had that with my school account, Google Meets, but it looks like it's rolling out to everybody, even basic accounts. So they're pushing.
GL Swim says, I'm currently using that as my Zoom cam, and it's great. Using the Sony hack or using the Canon hack? Please elaborate. Shane says, you can also use Camera Live plus Cam Twist without OBS. If you can, please help us elaborate.
Wait, there was one from, I don't know if you mentioned, or I think Adrian Hung was saying it doesn't work with the A6000. And he's saying that's the only one it doesn't work on. So that's my bad if that's the case. He's saying it's not great quality with OBS. So it's not pushing out the best quality from what Adrian's saying. But hey, it's a workaround. If it looks a little bit better than what you're already using, then it might be worth an option.
My only concern is like audio syncing issues, like because you're already capturing essentially a capture box. Sorry, I don't know the terminology, but I just foresee it's sort of like if you're talking to the mic, you might have to set a little bit of like an audio delay if your, whatever software you're using can do that. But I can just anticipate that there's a little bit of an audio delay. Matthew Gaddy says, I'm glad I purchased 2 capture cards last year.
Very, very good. Nice. And in Photo Me, Ike's also saying, I bought my Camlink 4K last year, and I'm glad I did. You know what's funny, investment. Jason? Hey, I want to say, they disappeared for a short while, Jason. I don't know. I was on the look to get a Camlink 4K. I couldn't find it. And this was last year or a little more than a year ago or something like that. They were just gone completely. They restocked, and I ordered one right away because it was at a darn good price, the Camlinks. But they disappeared for me.
I didn't even know they had a 4K option, to be honest with you. It was literally when we're in this quarantine that it's just like, hey, yeah, we're sold out of Camlink 4K. I was like, you had a 4K? I could have been using that. It's all good. GL Swim says he's been using the remote to OBS with the 6400, and I recall he says it works great for Zoom. Very nice.
Okay.
Oh, let's see here. Anything else? I think someone was asking us, since it's kind of related to the topic, what we're using for all these graphics that's happening right now. We're using a service called Be Live. So anyone who's been doing the super chat donation, thank you so much. That's what's been paying for the this little sort of third-party thing we have to host. Google Hangouts, unfortunately, does not work with YouTube Live anymore, so we're forced to use this, which isn't bad. We don't have any more auto switchers, but at least there's a split screen. And we can share screen as well, though not too great. We do have to finesse it a little bit if we want to show a bigger picture. But for the most part, for just simple Monday Live stuff, works fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, there was a funny thing. Okay, quick funny story. When Danny and I was live streaming last week, we were just testing out a whole bunch of like different options, like who's gonna like show the Sony live stream, right? We didn't know there wasn't a live stream, but we were just like, okay, how are we gonna cast this onto to the Be Live? Unfortunately, when you screen share on Be Live, it lags really bad. So what Danny discovered was to use OBS as a cam inside of the Be Live and he was able to play back the video and the audio with no issue at all, except his screen was like really, really small. So then, me being paranoid, I was like, well, what if your internet goes to crap and we have to have a backup, right? So why don't I try this? Why don't I set it up, with OBS on my end, just to make sure, like, hey, at least if one person can't do it, the other person could, right? I couldn't get it to work on my Mac. I couldn't get it to work on my Razer. So my other solution was to connect my Razer to an Atomos monitor, which acts like a capture card almost, but also acts as a monitor for the Razer, and then use the cam link, plug the Atomos to the cam link to my MacBook so I can display the video that's being played on the Razer. So it's a very super complicated setup, and in the end, it didn't work out. It was lagging, right? There was screen tears and everything. So yeah, I don't know
that's
what
the only
it was,
reason
but
why
we had a complicated setup.
Yeah, it was rough. It was rough, but the other way
the
worked.
Things we do for you guys. The things we do.
There's been more preparation for these things than we've had in the past, so just throwing that out there.
Way more. Awesome possum. Anything
right.
else, Danny, or should we move on to the next topic? MacBook Pro?
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it. Let's talk about something different.
Okay, all right, we're moving on to MacBook Pro 13-inch, but before we do, we have 15 minutes left on the show, so go ahead, drop your hashtag QA, any questions that you post in the beginning, or maybe there's some new question arising. Let us know in the chat, hashtag QA. We'll display it on the screen, we'll read it out loud, and we'll do our best to answer it. So get that queued up right now, hashtag QA. Anyways, Danny, go ahead.
All right, folks. So if you didn't catch wind already, the much anticipated 13-inch MacBook Pro, 14-inch MacBook Pro everyone was waiting for was announced, and it comes with the new Magic Keyboard. So this comes from The Verge. Obviously, everyone's kind of on the loop on this, but Apple has announced a new 13-inch MacBook Pro with Magic Keyboard. It features the optional Intel 10th Gen processor, starts at $1299. Granted, the 10th Gen does not come in that $1299 price point. There's a minor spec bump upgrade for the existing lineup of 13-inch Pros, but it also represents an era of the end of Apple using the much maligned butterfly keyboard mechanism. So in
just
the span
really,
of 6
just
months,
really quickly, Danny,
Yeah, go ahead.
can you explain what's wrong with the butterfly keyboard?
I personally never
happen to
owned that
remember?
particular. I didn't own it particularly for me, but the issue with that particular keyboard was that it just got dust caught underneath it so easily that it was just causing so many issues for people. It didn't happen for everybody, but it happened enough that it just made a lot of news, and it just wasn't positive for Apple. So I guess they worked that out. So they all transitioned back to this butterfly switch style keyboard. In my honest opinion, I tried it. I didn't like it, but granted, I just went to the store to mess with it a while back. I wasn't really feeling it, even this new style, but you get used to keyboards. But anyway, people like it, like that particular new keyboard. The 16-inch MacBook Pro got it, the MacBook Air got it, and now their 13-inch MacBook Pro has also received that update as well. So it looks pretty much exactly the same. The only difference now is that Escape key has been separated, just like the 16-inch. They have the 4 arrow keys over there, just like the 16-inch, and I think they separated the Touch ID a little bit more on the right-hand side. So that has changed. You can upgrade to 32 gigabytes of RAM, up to 4 terabytes of storage, and you can now use the Pro Display XDR at the 6K resolution using this particular 13-inch MacBook Pro. So, Jason, what are your thoughts on this particular laptop? And do you think it might be something worth for people to take a look at and consider?
This funny thing was that I bought a 13-inch MacBook Pro for Vivian last year, was it? Well, we bought it used because I was just like, Apple's gonna announce 14-inch soon. Okay, I'm gonna get it once it comes out. I'm gonna get it for you. Okay, because it's just like a much smaller form factor, and we're big on the Apple ecosystem. We do have Razer laptops for Windows purposes, but for the most part, it's just I personally find the Max to be a little bit more reliable. With the 13, I was kind of hoping with the whole rumors that the 14-inch MacBook Pro would get announced, but unfortunately, only this 13-inch got silently sort of pushed out to the public, which is fine and all. But I'm sort of hoping them to come out with a 14-inch MacBook Pro with some sort of dedicated graphics card, because that would be pretty nice. I wouldn't mind having a smaller form factor computer to kind of just do some, I don't even want to say lightweight editing, because at that point it's not really lightweight anymore, but a significant amount of power to be able to get through some editing. I mean, you can of course use Final Cut Pro, which is a lot more efficient, and it's going to be fine on the 13-inch MacBook Pro. But for unfortunate Premiere Pro users like myself, maybe having a smaller form factor with a dedicated graphics card would be pretty nice. So yes, that's great. They switched out to the better keyboard. Yes, it's great that they have a physical escape key, but I'm still looking for a 14-incher myself. That sounds really weird. But for the most part, I think Razer has some sort of equivalent, but obviously, this goes back to the age-old argument, right? You can always, the amount that you can pay for an Apple product, you can spend less money or equivalent money and get something way better. And Razer, the new Razer Stealth 13-inch is definitely that, for a $2,000 price tag for a competing spec MacBook Pro 13. You get a dedicated graphics card with the Razer Stealth. So if I have to go for a smaller form factor laptop with a dedicated graphics card, I think the Razer Stealth wins in my book. But for the most part, I'm on the MacBook Pro 15-inch right now with the Vega 20, and it has been doing its job for me.
All right, that was very insightful there. It looks like you've been having a lot of thoughts about this particular laptop for a while, ever since we had that whole, hey, Jason, how is your video editing with 4K?
I mean, I've thought about this, I just, not like I stay up at night and just be like, man, it'd be great to have that 14-inch MacBook Pro, but it's just like a thought that have occurred in the past. It's just like, yeah, it'd be great to have that 14-inch MacBook Pro, something that's just sort of like beefy enough for me to take to travel and edit some videos with, because my goodness, okay, as much as, the Razer stuff is great, the charger, the charging capability of the MacBook Pro, right? USB-C Thunderbolt charging. Right. I feel like you and I were talking about, Apple sort of owning that patent for that Thunderbolt. And I don't know if they also own that Thunderbolt charging.
Yeah. Intel owns that Thunderbolt, owns that, but I believe they let go of that patent already. Like, other people can use it, but there might still be some sort of, what do you call it? Royalties to use it. I don't think that's the right term for it, but I think there's some sort of cost that's involved with incorporating Thunderbolt 3.
Absolutely. And, as much as people hate on Apple taking away the regular USB 3 and, the SD cards, charging with that Thunderbolt 3 is just really nice. It's really handy, and I kind of want and prefer that for a lot of the other Windows laptops that are out there. So if I kind of ignore that, Razer has been improving a lot of their user experience with their laptops, especially with their new one that's out for the 15-inch. They fixed a few of the keyboard issues that I had with it. But for the most part, yeah, I mean, like, in terms of a smaller form factor, the Stealth 13 kind of wins in my book, as opposed to getting an Apple.
But I think the issue with that one, Jason, I know, guys, we're getting into like the computer stuff, but just another topic point for us. I think there was a heat issue with that particular laptop, Jason. Like, it just couldn't benefit completely because it would just overheat a bit because there's so much going on in there. Yes, the Stealth. I think there was discussions on that, but it's nice to know you have that.
The new one?
I think the latest one, yeah, the latest one.
Okay, yeah. Awesome.
Well, but awesome, it's nice. But yeah, okay. It's nice that it has the ability to like push itself when it can. But the other thing too is that there is Intel QuickSync that Premiere Pro does take advantage of with certain file types, like with H.264 to some degree. So I mean, I haven't edited on a non-GPU based laptop in a while, but I'm assuming you could still edit in Premiere Pro if it was what you wanted to do. Because like, here's the thing: what you're saying is you want to still be able to do some light editing. I mean, you can do some light editing on the 13-inch. It just doesn't have a discrete graphics card. You know what I mean? It just might not. Yeah. I think it's more of I think it's the cost proposition, knowing that you're going to spend all this money because you're not going to get the base model. I don't think you're going to get the base model because of the lack of features, right? You don't want to get the base model, but knowing that you could maybe get a version of this with a discrete graphics card that's going to give you better performance is just like, do you really want to spend your money and kind of spend in that direction? So I think the folks that want to get this 13-inch MacBook Pro are the folks that are just literally just doing web-based work typing and you just want to stick with the MacBook. I don't know if it's really necessarily the right choice to go with if you want to do like heavy editing or something. Just, I would say probably light stuff is probably good. Is the best case use for this particular laptop. But
yeah, it's more of a productivity laptop than editing. But yeah, awesome. Let's see here. I know we had some Q&A, and I know we kind of spent a little bit on this topic right here, but let's go ahead and post some of those Q&A if we can.
All right. I just wanted to show you really quick before we get started. This was the XPS 1517 leak. I think this was their XPS 17 right here. As you can see, they actually have 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports on this side and an SD card slot and two Thunderbolts on the other side as well. And I think that's the 15 that's right next to it. This is the 17. This is the proposed 15-inch right here.
So you can charge with a USB, the Thunderbolt?
Yes, you can charge.
Snaps! Oh, snaps!
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So I think with the 15-inch model is doing 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports, 1 USB-A, and an SD card slot on the other side, from what I understand. So that's nice competition.
Yes.
I'm digging that. So we'll see. There's no official announcement. That's just it's a leaked image from Dell's actual website. So it came from their website. So.
Hey, thanks again for tuning in. If you want to see this podcast on Google, Apple, or even Spotify, let me know in the comments down below. If there are enough people who are interested in streaming our podcast this way, we would love to make it happen. Until then, we hope to see you at the next Monday Live. Catch you soon.